Happening now, travel misery taking off and likely to get worse as the government shutdown triggers even more flight delays. This was the scene this morning at Bush Intercontinental in Houston. Long lines at security, and this past weekend was the worst for air traffic control staffing since the shutdown began more than a month ago. CNN aviation correspondent Pete Montine is here in the Situation Room with us. You've been looking through, Pete, the FAA operations plans. What will today and the coming days be like?
Well, the FAA just updated the list, and the facility responsible for flights approaching Newark Liberty International Airport is short-staffed today. Also, the center facility responsible for high-altitude flights around New York. Those are the two spots of concern so far. But history has shown that things can change pretty fast. It's pretty close to how Friday started, which kicked off the worst weekend for air traffic control staffing shortages since the start of this shutdown 34 days ago. This is what we've been monitoring. It's called the FAA National Airspace Operations Plan. Published every few hours, shows air traffic control facilities with short staffing. And on a normal day, there might be one or two facilities here. On Friday, this was the list. 46 different facilities. The three New York City airports have been especially hard hit, and the FAA says on Friday those facilities saw nearly 80% of controllers call out, and that is what creates the bind. And the FAA says it has no choice in some cases but to slow the pace of flights and put into place delays or ground stops. I want you to listen now to what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said about that.
Well, does it become a flight emergency, a safety issue? No, we will stop traffic. So we're not going to let that happen. I think the real consequence is what kind of rolling delays do you have throughout the system, right? We've seen problems at LA, in Dallas, in DC, Boston, Atlanta. And so I think it's only going to get worse.
Seems like no place is safe right now. In all, this weekend saw more than 16,000 flight delays nationwide. Remember, air traffic controllers still working without pay during this shutdown. That $0 paycheck they received just last Tuesday was insult to injury. And Duffy said on Sunday the White House is looking for what he calls pots of money to get controllers paid again, but he says the rules there are pretty strict. By the way, TSA agents also working without pay. No major surprise on day 34 of this shutdown. There are delays at TSA checkpoints as well. This was the line at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. At one point, the TSA line there stretched 3 hours long. But the TSA posted this morning that when you consider the wait times nationwide, they average about 5 minutes yesterday for standard screening. They said 2.11 minutes, very exact, for pre-check, and they screened about 2.7 million people nationwide. It's up about 1% when you consider the same time a year ago. The big thing here is these people have to get paid, and this is the human toll of this government shutdown, and it's having a real impact on travelers with Thanksgiving not far off on the horizon.
Yeah, and you were just traveling over the weekend, Wolf, but it was okay for you?
I was really lucky. My flight from LAX, Los Angeles, to Washington Reagan National Airport left on time and arrived on time. It was pretty, I was just pretty lucky.
It's a bit scattershot, and I hear from people who get hit by the delays and also people who have no problem. So the real thing here is when there's weather in the mix, on top of air traffic control staffing shortages, that can cause the whole deck of cards to come tumbling down.
And we've seen it happen. All right, Pete Montine, thank you so much.
We're joined by Nick Daniels, the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. What are you hearing now as we are looking at what really look like new images, kind of a new situation that we saw this weekend? What are you hearing from air traffic controllers about what the weekend was like?
The amount of stress, the fatigue, the frustration is growing every day. Air traffic controllers are waking up to a headline that says there's no end in sight, and that leads to a level of hopelessness as well. And you know, there's not even as many air traffic controllers that are working today as there was in the 2019 shutdown, where air traffic controllers are working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, and that was already an issue that we were working on, and now every day that this continues, it continues to build, and it continues to put them in a place that is completely unacceptable.
Can you help us visualize what it's like inside of, you know, a tower when there are not enough people?
You start having one person take on multiple tasks where you would normally have that workload divided between controllers. They're going to go to work, they're going to do their job, they're going to keep everyone safe, but you have to start slowing down the number of aircraft that can go through it so one person can handle this level of complexity. This is the most high consequence job in the entire world. You're making 1,000 decisions, you know, in just one rotation. to ensure that aircraft move safely in and around the airport or in the sky. And every single time that they have to take on an additional level of responsibility amidst all these other issues is something we have to be concerned about and something we have to manage.
What are the personal financial dilemmas that they're facing right now?
We're not only seeing air traffic controllers already reporting, like, I have no money for gas and to be able to get to work. They're over 1 month at this point without a level of compensation for the amazing work that these patriots do day in and day out. But also on top of that, not having child care. We're seeing air traffic controllers for their first time starting to resign. We have trainees that are resigning, and we have certified controllers. And we're getting reports of them resigning over the course of this past week.
You've called for a clean funding bill. That's right?
Yes, it is.
You've called for a clean funding bill. That at this point is the demand of Republicans in the White House as well. You were at the White House roundtable this past week on aviation, travel, and union leaders, and the White House has said they have no intentions to meet with Democrats until the government is reopened. Have you been able to speak to Democratic House and Senate, especially leadership, about what your folks need?
We have, and our message has been consistent from the very beginning. 1 day of a shutdown was too much. Air traffic controllers cannot be used as a political pawn. And I can help everyone know the end of this story. People can't live without money. It's putting us in a position to, for an air traffic controller to have to not only deal with this profession, but then weigh going home and having to have the consequences of being at a home and trying to explain to your family that you're going to go into one of the most demanding jobs in the world and you don't know when you're going to get paid again. Our message is simple. Open the government, and it has to open now. That's the real issue, and that's the only way that this is going to be solved.
You've been through this, time and again, and the threat of it time and again now, right? This is becoming a kind of regular thing, but I don't know that we've ever seen it threaten in recent history. A holiday season, kind of at a critical point in the shutdown, right?
Air traffic, we're worried about that as well.
Talk to us about that. What happens if we get to the Thanksgiving travel rush and the government is still shut down? What does that look like?
There's a lot of things that doing this job for 23 years that I can predict or I could tell you and explain. I have no idea how to explain what it would look like if we get to the holiday rush and we're still dealing with a government shutdown. The number of issues are growing daily. When air traffic controllers can't drive to work already and don't have gas or childcare, and then we're talking about it lasting all the way to the holidays, it's not something I can sit here and tell the flying public, America, in any way, shape, or form of what that would look like.
Would you feel safe flying? I
feel safe because of the hardworking men and women that I represent. They are showing up. And to every single person that shows up each day, each moment, they're the ones shouldering this burden of the shutdown. And it's something that we have to recognize them for. It's that they're taking this on when it has nothing to do with them whatsoever. And it's, again, why we're calling this shutdown has to end now. These hardworking Americans need to be paid.
Do you feel safer when they're not dealing with these kinds of issues?
No, every day this continues, this system will be less safe. Tomorrow will be less safe than today. And because of that, and it's our job to communicate for the safety of the flying public, it's why the traffic has to reduce, why things have to slow down, because we cannot put these men and women dealing with this job on top of this prolonged shutdown.
Nick Daniels, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.